I'm here to share two things, a story and a phone number. That's what I've been doing for the last 6 years, since the last time I had a drink. So, thank you so much. So I went through alcohol addiction, started drinking at the age of 15. And it all started off in school with a group of very trusted friends who came up with the bottle of vodka on a sports day. And then we mixed the vodka, we drank it, mixed it with our cool drinks. We drank it, and I'll be honest, I liked the feeling. I liked the feeling because it gave me a sense of ease and comfort. And as a teenager who didn't know what life was about, who didn't know which group of people to belong with, or what exactly my purpose was, I was totally lost. And when I discovered alcohol, it gave me an amazing feeling. And unfortunately, I spent the next 14 years of my life chasing that feeling. And the last 3 to 4 years of my drinking were very, very bad, extremely bad. And so a lot of negative things happened. And in my experience and listening to the experiences of others, if I had continued drinking, my story was going to end in one of 3 guaranteed ways: jail, hospital, or death. That's just how it ends for many young people who've gotten into addiction. And for me, it just didn't end with alcohol. I now started experimenting with cannabis. A lot of the risky decisions that the pharmacists, the police, and other people have mentioned all started happening to me. The very poor decision making, how I was now affecting my health, both physically and mentally. How I was now just putting my life into a total wreck. I got into a support group like Simon, and that changed everything. Because the moment I spoke to people who had gone through the same thing that was happening to me, it all just made a big light turn on in my mind. I then started to see the world from a different perspective. When I walked in, I did not believe I was an alcoholic. I knew I had a drinking problem, and I had no intention of stopping completely. Because I had sort of attached my alcoholism to my personality. So people who spoke about me and my drinking and my bad habits, especially my father, my uncles, my friends, so many people close to me had that conversation with me that I was totally unwilling to listen at any point. I was not willing to change because I felt as if all those people wanted me to stop breathing. Because that's how much I had associated and attached alcohol into my life. But when I listened to these guys who were saying, yeah, I've been sober for 3 days, I've been sober for 2 weeks, I've been sober for 30 years. And I said, wow, that's possible. Because I had not been able to spend a day in the last 3 to 4 years of my drinking sober. My thoughts centered around recovering from a drink, planning a drink, drinking, trying to get money to drink, trying to run away from the negative effects of my drinking, and even while drinking, I'll be thinking about the next drink. What if this shop closes? Where will I go next? How much more money do I have? Or who else can get me money so that I can continue drinking? So it's said that the alcoholic or someone in addiction will have their waking thoughts, at least 90% of their thoughts, thinking about their addiction of choice, be it drugs, be it alcohol, and any other forms of addiction. So I then discovered that there are a lot of people who need help. A lot of people need access to information, because one thing I figured out, why I probably went on for a very long time, having realized that I had a problem, but not knowing where to find it or how to get the solution, is there is a huge knowledge gap out there in the society. And I'm very happy that Uncle Billy has really taken the mantle with the support of guys like Clint to say, guys, let's start a movement let's go everywhere, let's knock every door and talk to people about this, because the huge knowledge gap exists in that, number one, people don't know what the problem is. Number two, people don't know what the solution is. And number three, people don't know how to access it. So having stopped drinking, having been talking to a lot of people, I then decided to start a non-profit organization, which is called Pamumvuri. And the name Pamumvuri came from my father's experiences with depression. So my father struggled with depression, and Pamumvuri in Shona means in the shade. And the work that we're doing is around mental health and environmental conservation. And when my father went through his struggles, he said, "The guy gara Pamumvuri." In Shona, it means, in English, it means, let me go and sit in the shade. So whenever he sat under a tree, he found himself getting some relief and consolation, which is why if you look at our banners, the logo is a picture of that particular tree that he used to sit under. So when we then started doing this work in mental health, particularly interested in drug and alcohol abuse through my own experiences, the first thing we did was, let's try to get into this knowledge gap. So we've set up a phone number, which is the second part of my presentation. I've been asked to give that number out. That number, which is on the banner there, 0771 611 311, is a repository of service providers who are around the country, who are offering services in drug and alcohol abuse. We have created it as a directory, like an Uber for treatment and rehabilitation for drug and alcohol abuse issues. You can get access to government facilities, private facilities, and support groups in any part of the country. We are working closely with the government of Zimbabwe through the Ministry of Health and the Interministerial Task Force on Drug and Substance Abuse. And there's an amazing program that is being rolled out by the Ministry of Health with the support of the World Health Organization to train the ordinary nurses in the districts, the rural, and even the urban hospitals on mental health skills, including drug and substance abuse, because that will be a game changer. We've also started a program to visit schools. We've been to a number of schools and we're still continuing with it, because my addiction started at school. And I'll tell you two stories that happened during my education. One time I was caught by my teacher on a sports day with alcohol in my juice bottle. And guess what happened? We drank it together. So we need to provide that psychoeducation to people who spend a lot of time with kids on what potential detrimental effects can happen. In A-level, I wrote an essay where I was supposed to quote scholars, and I had not researched enough, and I didn't have any. Guess what? I came up with Professor Smirnoff, Dr. Charles Glass, you know, and those were some of the early warning signs that I had developed a mental obsession to alcohol. So it's unfortunate that within the education system, sometimes there isn't that information, there is that knowledge gap. So would really like your support, would really like you to share the message out there, speak to people. Let's all be a part of this movement. Let's talk wherever we are, in the churches, in the mosques, in wherever we can be. Let's talk about this problem and the solution. Clint, I've done in 10 minutes. Thank you very much, and thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Jacob. Very articulate and very precise with time. As we said early on, we'd like to have a holistic approach. You've heard a pharmacist, you've heard a psychologist, you've heard a representative from the narcotics department, you've heard Jacob from the mental health and the solutions. So the problems are there are solutions. As I said early on, there's always a positive and a negative. I'll keep drumming this in so that we do understand and appreciate there's recoveries from drug abuse, from alcohol abuse, and they survive. However, stop and think of the other side. Some may never recover, some may not survive. The next person I'd like to call to share her story is a lady who goes by the name of Nonto. Nonto, please can you come up?
My name is Nontogozo. I'm the founder of Ayanda Foundation Trust. In April 16, 2021, I lost my son Ayanda. I later found out that it was because of drugs. Now, since then, drugs became my mission because I learned a lot after his passing. I always thought maybe drugs are just an American style, American thing. I never knew that we will be like this, coming here to talk about drugs. My son started having seizures. There is a doctor, I think from Gujeni, that mentioned seizures. He started having seizures, and I didn't know what to do, where they are coming from, because it was not epileptic. So we took him to different doctors. They couldn't find anything or the cause of those seizures. Until one doctor said, no, take him to Gujeni. I said, but no, he's not crazy. He said, no, take him to Gujeni. They're going to do an EEG, some tests. So they did those tests, and the doctors had a reading that it was substance abuse. So that's when I learned that those seizures were caused by what he was taking. Then they got him a medication to at least lessen the frequency of the seizures. The day he died, I had sent him to town to get me a few things in town. Then after 20 minutes, I got a call that he had collapsed. I thought maybe it's just one of his regular seizures. When I got there, he was unconscious. I thought maybe he just fell and hit hard. It was in town on the pavement. So when I got there, I tried to wake him up. I just said to them, no, he usually does have these seizures, probably after a few minutes, because it'll take, I think, about 2 minutes or so, 2 to 3 minutes. He's going to wake up. He didn't. Then we had to rush him to UBH. They tried to resuscitate him, but then the doctor said it was too late. When we brought him there, he was already gone. Drugs do kill. Bantwana, ama drugs ayabulala. This is not a joke. We are not here to do a fashion show or entertainment. We are here to educate you, advise you about these drugs. I lost a son because of drugs. I was not aware because there was no signs. He didn't show me any signs. He was not violent. He was not angry. He was always a happy child. So he knew how to hide that from me. I would like to talk to parents because I think parents, we are very naive. We think we have angels. We don't have angels. These kids, I've had a good chance to interact with AMA youth, or let me say AMA 2K, that's how they want to be called. So I've had a lot of campaigns that I've done, especially on the Western, where I've got to learn a lot about AMA 2K. AMA 2K, they tell you that parents don't understand us. Okay, what is it that you need parents to understand? I think the old ways of bringing up children is long gone. We need, as parents, to catch up with the times and with these 2Ks. Because remember, we are in competition with the internet. They have phones, they have everything, they have access to everything. So we are not only parenting alone, we are parenting with the phones that we are buying for them to see everything, to learn everything, and to know everything. So I would like today to ask, let's wave, let's raise our hands. Yes, we are there. I want you guys to tell parents today is the day. You always say they don't understand. I just want one or two. Why do you guys do drugs? Anyone? Yes? Is there an extra mic? Unfortunately, there's only one mic. Maybe you can come downstairs. The one that was raising their hand, somewhere there. It's okay. It's not like you are doing drugs. I know you guys know drugs.
Firstly would be like social validation. So like we live in this environment where there's a stereotype, movies and everything we watch, it's like it's cool to be drunk, to be having fun and stuff like that. So we tend to go to that because we want to look cool and we want to be seen as people that are outstanding. And the other thing is, not me personally, but then most of AMA 2K, we are a very depressed generation, but we don't like express ourselves. It's like we are hindered by stereotypes that surround us. So we tend to, most people lock themselves in their room. Some find joy in getting drunk. Some tend to go for drugs. But generally, we're a very depressed generation, and we have stereotypic parents that like, okay, for example, if you're a guy, like there are certain traits that you're supposed to portray. A guy isn't supposed to be weak or show certain emotions, right? So you can't go to a parent and tell them that you're depressed. The African stereotype is like, depression isn't like a real thing. Like, most African parents need to be woke. They like, need to know about mental health issues, like, which is why we appreciate such platforms that like educate our parents on stuff like this. Thank you.
Right. Parents, we have a challenge. What are you saying? How you talk to your kids? Because I've really had a lot of feedback from these kids when I ask them the reason why they are taking drugs, and they're saying problems are coming from home. What are we doing to our children that is turning them to drugs? So we must mind what we say to these children, because they are very sensitive. Everything to them is sensitive. Right, so I would like to have one parent that can maybe educate us about what is going on with these kids when they say we don't understand them.
Most like African parents are busy chasing money. They have no time for their children. They have no time to look, for example, at their homework. They have no time to know the friends of their children. They have no time to see the internet content, what their children are watching. They don't look at their, satchels when they are going to school. So I think it's all this issue about chasing money and really having, like in our country, we have a lot of people migrating and leaving their children alone, sending the money from the UK, and the children tend to it's not just the money that the children need, they need your attention. They need to sit at the table with you and eat with you. This is my own observation.
I also think over and above what the gentleman had said, not just looking at what they do because we want to correct them, but being friends with them, really allowing them to be themselves with us. And that can only happen if we stop to be judgmental and we stop to always say no to this, yes to that, no to this, yes to that. Whatever we say no to, there's supposed to be an explanation. We tend to want to raise our children the way we were raised. In my generation, you were told no, and that's that. You wouldn't ask a question. But for them, they ask you why for every little thing. Instead of me and you explaining to them why, we just want to impose our thoughts and our ideas onto them. And the other thing as well is what I desired to have achieved and I could not achieve. I would want to achieve that through my child. Instead of allowing my child, understanding my child, and helping them mold them into their purpose, into who they really are, I impose. If I wanted to be an air hostess and I couldn't, I would want to push her that way. I wanted to be a doctor, I couldn't. Or I look at someone's child and I think becoming a medical doctor is a big deal. I want them to become At some point, I remember a girl who told me, I wanted to go to school up to O level. Then I go to Polytech to do finance. But now my parents pushed me to go to A level. But now, all I could do is now to go towards the arts, because I only passed the arts. I could realize that I can only do the art subject. So sometimes we impose our thoughts, our ideas, and who we couldn't be, so that we can live our lives through them, which I don't think is the way to go.
From my campaigns and for the surveys that I've done, I've noticed that there is a war between the kids and the children, and it's very terrible. So this is where Ayanda Foundation Trust comes in, because it's being led by a parent that knows the loss of a child. So if you've got a child, or if it's a child that needs intervening at home, this is where we come in. This is where we come through. See me when the event is done, and we can try and help you with that. If you need help with a child that is a drug addict, or if you are a child that needs help at home, this is where we come in as well. And my last question I'd love to ask the drug unit. Drugs are not only done in the afternoon. If you go at night, if you're a parent and you're sleeping, know that the drugs have started working. Our kids are filling up the clubs. I'd love to know from the drug unit, what steps are you taking to get out these children out of these clubs?
It's been the sad part of the end result, a loss of life, which no one wants to lose their loved one. But as you can see, she's held her head up high, and she's come out now to try and help others. And just to add on to what Nonto said, this is a stream that is eventually going to lead to the ocean. We as a small group, as War Against Drugs, will start off in different communities. So we're not saying we're not going to go to Western. We have to start somewhere. And we need the help of everyone. So there are people who are more versed with the Western lifestyle and the Western way of doing things, and without attracting attention. You could imagine, no disrespect intended, if you had, let's say, an Indian guy going to Luveve. They wouldn't listen to him. Unfortunately, that is the fact, but the end goal is the same. We want to help. We want to help everyone, regardless of your status, your color, your creed, your religious belief. We want to help every single person that we can. And as our group War Against Drugs, we are addicts. I forgot to tell you. I'm serious, we're addicts as well. But we're addicted to helping you. That's our addiction, okay? So, you know, as we had this short break, I managed to engage a few people and have a conversation with a number of people. People gave their inputs, which is a very good thing, because, as I said, no one person knows everything. A person will come with a different dimension. I spoke to a certain lady, and she said to me, we all look at the outside world and blame our children because of peer pressure. Some parents are not noticing that from inception the child has a problem, a learning disorder. And that child is fighting that, but he doesn't know how to fight. He's not understanding how he's at the back of the queue and John is at the front. John is coming first, he's coming last. Then he decides, from day one, I was a loser. So it goes back to the root. If we're able to either help that root grow in a positive way or cut that root that has the negative impact, then we can get a better tree, a better fruit flourishing. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I said, the team spoke to various people, and we had a certain individual from the medical fraternity, and he said to me, you know, Clint, firstly, nice to meet you, and we are having an increase of parents coming through to ask what can be done, how can it be done. And the person said to me that there is help, And this help, for those who want to have it in confidence or in confidential manner, there is help. So seek your local practitioners who can assist you in your towns or your areas, whether it's western, northern suburbs. There are people, there's groups of doctors who meet. And as I said, for me, speaking to that individual was already a positive. He said to me, Clint, do you think it would be possible to invite some of these speakers to speak with the doctors? So now you're thinking, okay, to speak with the doctors. These are intellectuals. These are people who've studied. There you've got Nonto, you've got Simon, who can help these professionals. So this tells us one thing, people, is that everyone has something to input. So bear in mind, the smallest of input. For example, we have a group on Facebook called WAD, W-A-D, War Against Drugs. If you as an individual would just press the share button, you've done your little bit. Because your friend may have a child who's suffering with a drug problem, alcohol problem. So it's not about just looking and saying, we have this problem. If we continue to say that, we'll never solve or we'll never get to a happy medium. So the thing is, let's work together, let's combine our efforts, whether you're pressing send on that, because we're addressing the AMA 2Ks, yeah? We're addressing the AMA 2Ks who are on their phones. Yes, it's your time to be on the phone, share that positive message. Share the positive message. And it's encouraging to see a number of them here, and I thank the organization who's brought them here as well. So anyway, I don't want you to get bored of my voice. Next up, we'd like to ask Rosila Banda from Youth Connect to come and say something on behalf of the youth. Thank you very much.
I am so honored to be given this platform to discuss the detrimental effects of drugs and substance abuse. And I am coming here as an empty cup. And the testimonies that I've heard, as well as the statistics and everything that everyone has shared, has actually had an impact even on me. Yes, I am a speaker, I have something to share, but I'm also here as a learner, I'm also here as a youth, and when I go out there, I have a message to share, I have something to say, I have testimonies, and I can tell my fellow youth that this is not cliche. When people are talking about drugs and substance abuse, they are not joking. People are losing their lives. People are dying, and people are risking their health, all because of what? And we are sitting here as a community, as society, because we believe that a change should come. We believe that we are part of the change. And we believe that we can make an impact and we can have an effect. And a little goes a long way. And I've seen it, and I'm so happy that there are a lot of youth out here who are here to listen, and we've heard, and I know that we can go out there and spread the message. In my opinion, drugs and substance abuse is a very detrimental issue, and it's been addressed over long periods of time. But have we ever asked ourselves why? Why we keep talking about the same thing over and over again? The answer is simple. It's because the problem hasn't completely been eradicated. So many young people have been sent to early graves because they indulge in substance abuse. And hear it from me when I say temporary ecstasy is not worth ruining your future, I mean it. Trying to please friends and risking your health under the pretext of experimenting isn't worth it. Defend your future, know who you are, know your worth. The future is in your hands, especially as a youth. Hear it from me, it's not cliche. You can do it, you can make it, you can be an example. At the end of the day, it's very unfortunate that some of these habits that we indulge in have very serious consequences and they are irreversible. A lot of them lead to death, a lot of them lead a lot of people to prison, and it's unfortunate that some people don't even have the facilities to be taken to rehab Some people don't have anyone to talk to. Some people don't even know, or they're not aware of these organizations. And they just think, I will just follow the crowd, I'll just please my friends, I'll just do whatever makes me happy. Because as youth, we have this statement that says, you only live once. I'm going to do what I want. Life is too short. But at the end of the day, we ruin our lives, we ruin our futures. And sometimes as cliques and as friends, we don't really tell each other the truth because we are just saying, oh, I don't want to seem like the party pooper. I don't want to seem like the friend who doesn't fit in or the friend who isn't cool enough. And that has led a lot of people into early graves. So I am speaking to the youth, and I am saying that I know a lot of us still with depression, as he had said earlier on, and some of us feel like our parents don't understand us. But that is also not a platform or an excuse to condone the use of lethal and these very harmful drugs. It's not an excuse because, in my opinion, how can you solve a problem by creating another? So I'm actually speaking to everyone in this house, and I'm actually saying I commend you for actually taking your time out to be here. Whether you are a speaker or you are here to listen, it makes a difference. So I'm here to say no to drugs and substance abuse. I thank you.
As well. And I was shocked that guys that I was in school with, or guys younger than me, were doing this either in school or first year out of school. And when we had the drug, the first one in Harare, it was unbelievable that in the crowd, there must have been 5 Prince Edward boys. 5 Prince Edward boys, not current, but ex, who were in that crowd. And a few of them came up and I was in Prince Edward, and I was like, this, for our code of conduct per se, we considered ourselves as blue bloods. Prince Edward boys considered themselves as blue bloods. Not to realize that there was green blood at the back. So it just made me realize at that time, and it goes back to what everybody is saying, none of us are immune to this. It's a pandemic, it's actually a war. And if we continue to sit back and watch, the war will take over us. Very simple. We all fought COVID, and we're still fighting it. But today we can take our mask off. But today, can we safely say as an adult, you can let your daughter go, as the one lady said, to a nightclub? Can you let your daughter go and have a sleepover without feeling uncomfortable? Probably not. So we'd like to get back to basics. Anyway, I'm taking too much of your time. I'd like to call upon Tapiwa, please.
I remember when I think Tafara spoke about stimulants and depressants. We used to take crystal meth, and as soon as you take that hit, your eyes just open up and you feel like everyone around you is planning on you, is plotting. Even Clint could get it here, And then after that, when the high gets too much, you take a Mandrex tablet to down you. So once you down, you turn into a, And this was our reality for about 4 years of this. Substance abuse is like being in prison, and I like to say I did my time in South Africa, where, as Clint mentioned, I went to Prince Edward. I did very well for myself. I was, first of all, I feel like myself, Simon, and Jacob are the most important people in the room because we've been through this. But now as I look at all these youngsters, I feel like they're the most important people because we need to stop them from going through this. So I went to a, thank you. In Prince Edward, I achieved a lot. I was senior prefect, I was basketball captain, played first team rugby, and I thought I was the it, I thought I was, what's hot at that time. But at home, things were bad, things were sad. My home was broken, my mom was there, my dad was there. I had no one to listen to me. I always used to lock myself up in the room. And I think we need to have a totally separate conversation about parents and children, how they should react to each other. So, I found my peace at school. I found my peace on the field. I found my peace on the basketball court. And this trend led to outside as well. We started going out partying. I became so popular, you know, everyone, chandas, chandas. You know, in the clubs, I would go in for free. People would make circles around me dancing, and I found it, you know, to be my place of zen. And I carried this on to when I went to South Africa after university, etc., and I started drinking a lot. I started smoking marijuana, and then one thing led to another, and I realized that my weakness is women. So I met one who actually introduced me to crack cocaine, which I took, but I only felt it on the third time that I took it, because the first 2 times I was drunk. When I felt it, my life changed. That 2-second decision changed my life. I feel like that's when the devil said, pause, took the remote and says, pause, this young man should suffer. Someone did mention that when you're doing great, the devil wants to interrupt. That's exactly what happened to me. And I speak more on the spiritual side, because fast forward, when I stopped crystal meth, when I stopped crack cocaine, I switched to crystal meth because crack cocaine became too expensive. And crystal meth was easily accessible in South Africa. And we might want to close borders as much as we want, but then you can now cook it in your back kitchen. So that's why I'm focusing on the kids, the decision makers. So what happened after that is I put my mom through hell. I lost 5 jobs, and I had to move in with my mom. And I saw her turn from a glorious, glowing African woman to a stick, you know, because of me. I would knock on a gate at 2 a.m. in the mornings asking her to open the door for me because I had just come from a binge. And this is after 3 months of being away from home. And she would wake up with tears in her eyes and ask me why I'm doing this. And I said, because you don't listen to me. And when I think of it now, and I hope this hits the 2Ks hard, whenever you say your parents don't understand you, please note, you don't understand anything yourselves. You don't know what you're talking about yourselves. And it took me these 4 years of pain, of hell, of fire, to appreciate what my mom and my dad were actually trying to do. When your parents do and say things to you, they do it out of love. If there's one person who's going to advise you or scold you for your own benefit, it's your parent. Anyone else out there is possibly lying to you or possibly just wants to benefit something from you. If I had known this in the beginning, I would have said no the first time I was shown a drug. I would have said, you don't know what you're talking about, you don't love me, you know? But unfortunately, as life would have it, I fell for it. And I'm glowing now, you see me now, this is joy in my heart. Because I am free, guys. I do not like to classify myself as a recovering addict. I've recovered. I've left that life behind. And to be honest with everyone in this room, in my opinion, and because it's me who went through it, it is because of the grace of God. I did not go to a rehab. I don't even know what rehab looks like inside. I went to a few AA meetings, but it was just a group of depressed people looking at each other thinking, when is this meeting going to end? I need a hit, you know? So I went to 1 or 2, but they didn't help me, you know? It got to a point where my mom gathered the troops, and the troops being her sisters, her brothers, the family. And they prayed for me. They would fast on Wednesdays for me. They would dedicate days just to pray for me, you know, because they knew what I carry. They knew what I'm capable of. And this is what the devil wants. He wants those people who have potential to be something in life. He goes for those people mostly. And they prayed, and honestly, just to cut it short, I woke up one day and I felt different. I just woke up and I felt brand new. I looked at a pipe. Even now, as I look at these pipes, I feel like puking, because that taste, the taste of that thing comes back into my senses, and I imagine it, and I keep thinking, what was I thinking? You know, I feel like vomiting, sorry to use that word. But it's a total change, and I cannot attribute it to any human being. I can only say it's spiritual. Because just quickly, and I'm not shy to walk around with this book, because it has become my life, it has become my drug, and I'm trying to exert the same pressure I used to exert on finding my next hit into this book. Because we all believe in whatever we believe in. We all have a higher power. It doesn't have to be the one that I believe in, but if it's the one that you believe in, and you believe that that higher power is capable of changing lives around you, capable of saving people from death, then dwell more on that, because that is life. This book is a book of life. Everything that is written in this book has helped me ever since I stopped. I don't even crave it. I don't even think about it. I have 1 or 2 dreams about it, but I wake up laughing it off.
you know, because that's the devil trying to remind me, of which I just shake it off. I'm like, I'm not going back there. I know what it's like. You know, I missed a lot. There's a lot that I didn't say, and unfortunately, because of time, I can't go into it. But I recently did a TV interview on a show called The Ian Show. It airs on ZBC on Sunday at 7:30. So tomorrow, I think my episode will be on. If you don't have ZBC or if you don't believe in ZBC, then you can also find it on YouTube. The channel is Ian Show, literally just the E and the N and then show. You'll see my video up there. I'm living by this verse, these verses. Ephesians chapter 6, verse 11 to 13. It says, put on the whole armor of God, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Verse 12 says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood. Not like me or you. I'm not fighting you. It's something bigger than this. It says, for we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. When you're tempted to do something, it's something spiritual. It's something above you and beyond you. So what can you do to a ghost? If you see a ghost right now, if a ghost just appears next to me right now, everyone's going to run out of this building. The only weapon that we have is that higher power that can help us to fight these things. We are fighting a demon. We're fighting a devil that is so strong, it can wipe out a generation. Just like this, it can wipe everyone out. I committed crimes. Ma'am, you don't have any proof. I committed crimes in South Africa that are deemed, that could have put me in prison for a long time. But for some reason, something just, I don't know, something was following me and something just kept taking me out of it. You know, for some reason, I was just different. I don't know what it was. Maybe it was my upbringing because it was very, very spiritual. But all I want to say is, because of time, don't forget where you come from. And for the parents, listen to your children, especially when they're quiet. That's the most important time you need to listen to them, because something is going on. And it starts from there. And you can raise them to be the people that you want to raise them.